Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, there was a power failure. Sorry for that inconvenience. Okay, so what were we talking about? Okay, so we saw this object. We described this object in terms of its features. Yes? Just a minute. Okay. Okay, so we described about its features and we also saw the two reasons why describing or defining any knowledge discipline is very difficult or very hard. Okay, now we learned the definition of psychology yesterday, right? Yes? Why are you not responding? Can you hear me? Is there any issues in the voice?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So we learned about this definition. Psychology is defined formally as a science which studies mental processes, experiences, and behavior in different contexts, right? We are also looking at this particular definition. The initial definition about psychology was given in terms of the word origin of psychology. Okay? Psychology has the term or the word psychology has a Greek origin and it's derived from two words, that is psyche, which means soul, and logos, which means study. Okay? So putting both of that together, this is known as the study of soul or mind. Psychology was initially defined as the study of soul or mind, which was based on the word origin of psychology. Got that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, uh, now currently the definition that we use is psychology is defined formally as a science which studies mental processes, experiences, and behavior in different contexts. The three main concepts that we discussed yesterday. Okay, is that clear? So initially, compare this same situation with that of the smartphone that we discussed earlier. Okay, smartphone initially that was a miniature form or rather a very simple form of the smartphone. Now what we have is something which various complex features, right? So initially psychology was also a baby. Now it's a grown up person. Consider it like that. Okay? Is the definition clear? Everybody please unmute. Tell me, is it clear to you?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And the next one, okay, what we are going to do is we are going to expand these three key concepts in that definition. Okay? Before that, do you know what this symbol is? Can you all see the screen that I'm sharing? Is
Yes,
it
ma'am.
clear? Okay. This particular picture, can you see that on the right side of the screen? Are you familiar with that? Do Do you want to know what that is?
Ma'am.
This is the symbol that we use to denote psychology, and it is known as psi. PSY. Okay. This is just an extra information before we go into the exact studies. Okay. Just note it. You'll come across this if you are planning to continue in the field of psychology. All right. Okay. So mental processes. We move on to the mental processes. Now, okay. Mental processes are activities of the mind and the brain. Before we go deep into what mental processes are, where is your brain located? Inside your stomach? Or your chest?
Inside
Where?
the skull.
Inside the skull. Okay. Where is your mind located?
Doesn't have a location.
Who told that? Who told that answer?
Aishwarya.
Aishwarya. Okay. What answers do others have?
Mind is don't even not a part of our body. So
Mind is not the part of the body. Okay. Any other answers? Elvina was the one who answered, right?
yes, ma'am.
Okay, okay. Very good, Elvina. Next person? Any other answers? Do we have any other answers here?
Mind is just something imaginary. It really doesn't.
Exist. Is that what? Is that what you're trying to say?
Yes, ma'am.
Mind does not exist. It is something imaginary. Is it just like a fairy tale? Who was the one who answered? Was it Aishwarya again?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, okay, Aishwarya. Very good. Again, think. Brainstorm and tell me other answers. Come on, who all are there? Reina, Amal, Ashish and all. Tell me, where is your mind located? No other new answers, then is it, are you done? Okay, so where is mind located? That is still a topic of debate because we still haven't found out the location where mind is. And as Elvina said, that is mind is not at all the part of our body. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
You again had a power failure. I'm sorry for that. Okay, so we were talking about the location of mind, right? Can you see the screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Is the screen clear to you?
No, ma'am.
Now can you see?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, fine. Mental processes, we were talking about mental processes. We talked about the location of the brain, and then we were discussing about the location of the mind. Yes, location of a mind, as I told you before, it is still a debatable topic. It doesn't have, or the particular location of the mind as of now is not found out. That would be a good statement to tell. Okay. It would be really wrong to say there is no location for mind, because who knows, maybe in several hundred years people may find out where the mind is located. We never know, right? Okay, so let it be. Now, the second point, however, these mental activities are different from neural activities, though they are mutually overlapping processes. Have you learned about neuron, the structure of neuron and all in your science classes? Yes. Okay. So neurons are the fundamental units of the brain. Neural activities are also similar to mental activities and mental processes. The brain activities and neural activities. How are brain activities and neural activities measured or observed or studied? Do you know any methods? Any imaging techniques? No, you're not familiar about. Okay, we have several existing technological methods too. Some of them are MRI scans, magnetic resonance imaging. Have you heard about it? Yes, MRI scans, PET scans, fMRI, EEG. All of them are used in order to study these brain activities. So brain activities and neural activities, they are also something related to these mental processes, but mental processes are also different in some terms from them. Okay. The mind emerges and evolves as our interactions and experiences in this world get dynamically organized in a form of a system, which is responsible for the occurrence of various mental processes. So as we told before, mind is a form of manipulation of all these processes. Okay, we can't tell concretely that this is the place where mind is. But we also use this word mind in our day-to-day conversations, right? I don't have mind, I don't mind. It is a common term that we use. So, how the mind can be defined or described is in terms of our interactions and experiences. Okay. Our state of consciousness or awareness. Now, I am conscious that I am taking class in front of you. I am in a virtual meeting with you. Yes? And you are conscious about the fact that you are sitting in front of your electronic gadgets and attending psychology class. Yes? Are you aware of it?
Yes.
Yes. So these states of consciousness or states of awareness also comes under the concept of mental processes. Okay? Right? Understood? Is it clear? Or should I explain again? Is it understood?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, mental processes include reasoning, learning, thinking, problem solving, perception, etc. Yesterday, I told an example and I described that there are n number of processes that we are going to learn in the field of psychology. And most of them comes under this: reasoning, learning, thinking, problem solving, perception. When I ask you a question, you're thinking about an answer. Yes, and that process thinking is itself a mental process. The basic process, thinking, is itself a mental process that we fail to notice. Okay. Okay. Now, learning. That is, we have a whole chapter on learning. We are learning to learn in that chapter. Okay. Then next one, reasoning. You give reasons. This is good for you. This is bad for you. This is not good for you. This is very much benefiting to you. Or maybe you make some logical reasons. Some of them go illogical. You do critical thinking. All that comes under reasoning. Then problem solving. When you have a problem solving, that is not only something that refers to the mathematical problems or the problems that we have in physics and chemistry, but problem solving is also related to the problems that we have or the issues that we have in our day-to-day life. We reason, we make certain decisions, and we find a solution to the problems we are facing. Okay? And perception. Perception, as I told yesterday, we sense something and then we interpret and we understand that this is this. If you see a dog, you understand that it has 4 legs, it has 2 ears and all, it has a tail, and then you interpret it as a dog. You differentiate it from all other 4-legged animals, and you differentiate, you decide, yeah, what I see is a dog. Yes? That is what is called perception. Did you understand? Yes, please unmute and tell me.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, okay. So, the mental processes, they form the first key concept, and understand that mental processes are activities of the mind and the brain. We also include states of consciousness and awareness in this, and examples. Okay? Clear? Shall we move on to the next one? Yep.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Next one is experiences. Experiences. So when we apply for a job, people ask for 2 years experience, 3 years experience, minimum 5 years experience, minimum 1 year experience. Yes. So different people have different experiences in life. Okay. Experiences can be defined as the learning acquired through everyday life situation. Okay. This doesn't mean that a person who is older than you has more experiences. What if the person is just sitting idle in a house and you are exploring the world? So who has more experiences? You or the other person?
Me.
Yes. So experiences can be defined as the learning acquired through everyday life situation. Each day gives you a new experience, right? Again, experiences are subjective in nature. Are you familiar with the word subjective? Are you familiar with the word subjective? Are you familiar with the word subjective? I can't hear any answer. Yes or no? I can't hear you. I'll continue. Okay, we are losing our time. Okay, experiences are subjective in nature, which means that your experience is not my experience. So, subjectivity means it will be different for different individuals. Okay, see, we suppose Aishwarya and Grishma both are attending psychology class, but the experience that Aishwarya is having might be completely different from what Grishma is experiencing, right? Okay, and only the experiencing person can be aware or conscious of his or her experiences. Thus, experiences are embedded in an awareness or consciousness. And I would like to give an example. Suppose Rayana and me, both of us are attending an event. Okay, let it be a wedding. Okay, and what I see on the stage will be, or what I notice might be the bride, her ornaments, her sari, her complexion and all. What Reina would be interested might be the decoration of the stage. Okay? We both are at the same place attending the same event, but we both are having different experiences. Again, take the same example. We both are looking at the bride. Okay, just imagine. We both are looking at the bride. Let it be the bride's saree. Okay, I will be interested more in the color or shades of the saree, while Reina would be interested more in the designs or the prints in the saree, or maybe the works in the saree. Okay, so even though we both are having attending the same event, looking at the same object, we both are having entirely different experiences. So I can only explain how I am experiencing, right? And only Raina can explain what she is experiencing, or only Raina can understand completely 100% what she is experiencing. Did you understand? So, whenever you talk about experiences, remember that experiences are always subjective in nature. It changes from one person to another. Got that? Yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, the last point, experiences are influenced by internal as well as external conditions of the experiences. Another example. Or let's take the same example. Okay, otherwise you might confuse. Okay. Again, who would like to come for the wedding with me? Raina is almost done. Next person. Who wants to come? Grishma, will you join? Okay. So Grishma and I am going for the same wedding, and I haven't had food. I haven't had my breakfast that day. I didn't sleep properly the previous day. And maybe I fought with my best friend that day. And it was my cousin's wedding, so I had to attend the function. So I came. I was obliged to come, so I came. And Grishma, on the other hand, she passed 10th standard with flying colors. She got so many gifts the previous day. She slept well. She ate her favorite food. Which is your favorite food, dear? Favorite breakfast?
Dosha.
Okay. She ate dosha the morning that she came for the wedding, and she's very happy. Okay. So the experiences that I am gonna have and Grishma is gonna have is again going to be entirely different, right? Yes?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. And note the point, experiences are influenced by both internal as well as external conditions. The internal conditions that I am having is, I am sad, I am very much depressed that I fought with my best friend. I am having so many internal conditions. And the external conditions, what would it be? Maybe my mother scolded me the morning, and maybe she didn't cook food for me. My mother won't do that, but still, it's an example. So, bear with that. Okay. So, did you understand that any experience, it is affected or influenced by both internal as well as external factors? If you want, I'll give one more example. You are going for a tour. You're going for a tour to Munnar. And the experience, maybe you had a fight with someone and you're going. That is one example. And you're going on a very summer day, very sunny day. And the experiences that you are having on both these days would be different, right? The external conditions like temperature and all can affect our experience. And the internal conditions like sadness, depression, all that can also influence our experience. Even if we are going to the same place, same location, even if the same person is having the similar experience, both the internal and external conditions can influence our experience. Is that clear?
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, shall we move on to the third part? We are running out of time. Okay, I'll finish it very fast. Okay, third one is behavior. Behavior is the responses or reactions. Behavior is a response or reactions we make or activities we engage in. Okay, so any response that we do, any behavior, any action that we do, that is considered as a behavior. This is one of the most important questions that is commonly asked in exams. So please note it. Okay, please note that definition. And some behaviors may be simple or complex, short-term or enduring, overt or covert. So when someone waves their hand in front of your eyes suddenly, you give a blink, right? You blink your eyes. That is behavior. That is a simple behavior that happens for a very short span of time. In contrast to that, you study, you practice your steps, your dance steps, and you give a performance on stage. Dance performance is in itself a behavior which is complex in nature and it lasts for some time, right? Okay, that is also a behavior, but it is different from the blink of the eye. That is why I said behaviors can be simple or complex. It can be short or enduring. Means it can be long lasting or it can last for some time. Okay, clear? Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, any behavior, overt or covert, is associated or triggered by a stimulus. Before that, what is overt and covert? Overt means observable. Anything that is observable or seen or can be displayed is termed as overt. Overt behaviors. Okay? Anything that cannot be seen. I mean, the opposite of it can be considered as covert, which cannot be displayed or acknowledged explicitly. Okay, so overt behaviors like we said, the blink of the eye, or maybe the dance performance, the way I wave the hand, the way I stand and nod my head, all these are overt behaviors because another person coming in front of me can notice it, can observe it. Yes, that is overt behavior. And covert behavior, I'll give you an example. You are telling me a lie. You are telling me that, ma'am, I went through the textbook. I read each and every page of it. I have studied each and every bit of it. I know that is going to be a big lie, but still, again, leave that. Okay. So that lie, what I hear is the speech that you tell me, the statement that you tell me. I'm hearing your sound. Yes, that may be observable to me. But the fact that you are lying, you are feeling very tensed. Will I get caught? Will I be called by the principal? Will I get a punishment for this? Will the teacher find out that I'm lying? That makes you tensed inside, right? And you will have several thoughts inside, right? And again, you will feel butterflies in your stomach. You will feel your muscles twitching. Yes, all that happens, right? It is a part of our daily life. Okay, so when that happens, all these comes under covert behaviors. Yes, it cannot be observed by any other person, but only yourself. Understood? Understood the difference between covert and overt?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Then, the point that we told just now, any behavior, overt or covert, is associated with or triggered by a stimulus. What is a stimulus? Anything that evokes a response is known as a stimulus. So when I ask a question, I'm expecting a response from you. So I am a stimulus here. Okay? And another example that I told before was the waving of the hand in front of your eyes. So you give the response as the blink of your eye. Okay? So the waving is another stimulus. So anything, any object or the person or anything that evokes or calls for a response is known as a stimulus. Understood? Yes? Any doubts? I can't hear you. Any doubts? No. Okay, fine. Okay, both stimulus and response can be internal or external, and the same stimulus can have different responses. So when I wave the hand, maybe some of you might not blink. Some of you might blink your eye, some of you might not blink your eye. So I am the same stimulus, but I'm getting different responses. Here I am asking you many questions, but I'm getting different types of responses from you, right? Some of you are answering, some of you are not answering, some of you are telling that you have understood the topic by nodding your head and all. Yes, I'm getting different responses. So same stimulus can get different responses. Okay. And stimulus and response can be internal or external. So this, I want you all to think about the sentence and find out examples from your daily life or maybe an imaginary situation, whatever it may be, it's okay. This is an assignment for you today. Find situations where the stimulus is internal and response is external. One situation. Then another situation where stimulus is external and the response is internal. Similarly, where both are internal and both are external. Did you understand? Can you try doing that assignment for tomorrow?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Then that's it. We didn't cover so much of the portions, just we expanded the definition today. So we also looked into the word origin, the Greek origin of psychology, that is psyche and logos, which means soul and study. And we also revised the definition that we learned yesterday. Okay, and we expanded and then this is a new information for you. What was the name of the symbol?
Psi.
Psi, yes, psi, very good. And we also discussed about mental processes, experiences, and behavior. Okay, is that too much for you? Is it?
No, ma'am.
Okay, okay. So please do revise these portions and come for tomorrow. Okay? Okay, is that all right? Okay, then see you all tomorrow. Bye. Take care.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.